Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, my dear students of Honours Part 4. Today I shall deliver lecture on the poem Tree at My Window, and my lecture will be divided into introduction, discussion and critical comments and conclusion. And you know, my dear students, that Tree at My Window is one of the well-known nature poems in the collection entitled West Running Brook, which was first published in 1928. And this is very well known to you that Frost is a great nature poet, but he is a nature poet in his own way. He is no follower of Wordsworth or other glowworms in the romantic school of thought. On the contrary, he is quite opposed to the Wordsworthian way of thinking about nature. Usually, Frost tries to depict the nature. Frost tries to depict that nature is essentially alien and has no mystic relationship with man. But here in this poem, Frost tries to bind sympathetically the human head and the tree head, the inner and outer weather, so that man and nature close in understanding, so as to fit together like the two hemispheres. And now, my dear students, I will discuss about the development of thought in this poem. Very next to the window of the poet's bedroom is a tree. At night, the poet closes the window to shut out the cold, but the poet avoids drawing the curtain because he wants to have the tree constantly within the range of his vision. The poet is captivated by the tree. He seems to have discovered bounds of affinity between himself and the tree. He sees the tree come under violent spells of movement because of the strong winds. This, he feels, is just parallel to his being torn by conflicts and being tossed on the horns of worries and dilemmas. In this respect, their fate is similar. But from this point onward, their analogy ends. Herefrom, the poet becomes increasingly aware of their differences between the tree and himself, and between the world of nature and that of man at large. The tree can experience only outer weather, storms, strong winds, etc. It is completely unfeeling to any non-vegetation phenomenon, and the tree lacks emotions, intellect and the like. It does not and cannot know inner weather, spiritual upheaval, the agony of the soul, and the plague and torment of the thinking and questioning mind. One can discover romantic elements scattered throughout the poem. A striking instance is the second stanza, where he refers to the tree as vague dreamhead lifted out of the ground, and says that it is a thing next most diffuse to cloud. The passage is an example of rare suggestivity and a hazy quality in the line of highest kind of romantic art, but it is only the language that has been molded on the pattern of the romantic poetry. The thought content, the poet's attitude to nature, is almost contrary to that of romantic poetry. The romantic stressed the points of similarity between man and nature. Frost asserts the essential differences between both the worlds. He takes cognizance of these points of superficial similarity, but points out and repeats that beneath these similarities there are essential differences between man and nature. Nature exists because man is there to perceive it. In itself, nature is insensitive, unfeeling, and dull. To feel and to suffer spiritually is a peculiarly human trait. In this way, Frost asserts the superiority of man over nature, of mind over matter. And let me now shed some critical light on the poem. This is one of those few poems in which Frost addresses the object of nature, talks directly to nature, again differentiating him from Wordsworth and pointing out the contrast between the two. Marion Montgomery says, what is high seriousness to Wordsworth is fancy or humor in Frost. We should never suppose that Frost feels the kind of brotherhood for natural objects that Wordsworth expresses through much of his poetry. Always to Frost, man differs from other creatures and objects. Frost may attribute human actions to objects of nature, but he never attributes human emotions to them. He may ascribe human behavior to them, but he never ascribes human mind to them. And let me, my dear students, tell the concluding part of my lecture. And my dear students, when Frost speaks to nature or of nature, we feel that he always has man in his mind, that he is looking at man from the corner of his eye and ultimately talking to man. Even in these poems, where he binds man with nature, it seems that Frost describes the animal and vegetable nature in man and not attributing human nature to the animal and vegetable worlds like the Romantics. Frost gives utmost importance to man. He reiterates untiringly that though a speck in the universe, man is an individual entity in himself, and man is a lonely and isolated alien in this vast universe, and he has to devise his own path on the surface of this earth. And my dear students, I believe that you will understand and feel the pulse of the poem, and this is not a difficult poem to grasp, and you will understand every words, every lines of this poem. And with this hope, I would like to finish my lecture on this poem, and I believe that you have enjoyed my lecture, and thank you very much, my dear students. Goodbye.